Gib das an!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, reptilian invaders and humans alike, welcome to Series 3 of the Polis Box Live. Our winter break is over and we've finally completed all those little jobs we've been putting off. We've dumped all the hexachromite in the river, fixed that structurally unsound polystyrene door, and asked that Willie Collum no longer has any involvement with the show. Just in time to come out of deep hibernation and continue our mission to assemble the one true Doctor Who canon. I'm joined as ever tonight by two men who have spent the Christmas break assessing their last few years in the Polis Box and wondering if there could have been a better way. It's Cameron Phillips and David Cummings.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
I like the Scottish football joke, haven't we?
Yeah, we'll get that. Straight in there with it.
Obscure reference.
Always lead with a niche reference to Scottish football on a Doctor Who podcast. It's in the Bible.
It's in the DNA of the show. Has to be done.
Welcome along everyone to Series 3 of the Polis Box Live. This time round for the series we're putting Series 21 of Doctor Who on trial, so Peter Davison's last series as the Doctor. We've got 7 episodes stretching out in front of us of trials and all sorts of nonsense, taking us all the way up to the 11th of April. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that once again we have thrown open the courtroom doors this series, and we're joined tonight by a man who's making quite the habit of appearing on the first episode of a new series of the Polis Box, this being his second in succession. That's right, once again we offered up our opening, and lo and behold, there he was, ready and willing to fill our vacant slots. From a hamster with a blunt penknife, and now Strictly Come Hamster, he's the Claudia Winkleman to our Tess Daly, the O.T. Mabussi to Craig Revel Horwood. He's the one and only Mr. Joe Ford.
Nobody writes an introduction like you, you know. Can I ask you a question very quickly?
Yes.
Who are those 3 young, handsome men on that photograph there where I was waiting to come into this call?
I don't know. No idea.
I don't recognise them at all. You change your marketing a little bit, do you know?
Do you know what? I think there's sort of young, good-looking bucks that should do a Doctor Who podcast live on YouTube. Whoever they are.
Yeah, whoever they are.
I've got to say, you are kind of almost certainly responsible for Strictly Come Hamster, because I had so much fun doing this panel show. I thought, well, I want a bit of this. So, I got collaborating with my mate Rod, and here we are. And it's proven to be a spectacular success. So thank you, lads.
Bloody hell. 7 years, we're finally influential.
I know. It's like, we're trendsetters.
Trendsetters, yes, you are.
It took us long enough, but we're finally there.
Well,
Did you choose me first for the beginning of both seasons, sort of like get the shit out of the way first so you can get to
No, not at all. Always open with the biggest bang possible.
Oh no, I've just remembered you're closing with Fraser Gregory. You got the shit coming right at the end, didn't you? Right.
Yeah, our 24-hour special.
It will be. You prepare yourself, all right?
Yeah, we're braced, Joe. Talking of things that are probably going to take a long time, we've got a hell of a lot to get through tonight. So should we just crack on with things right now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, yes.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay then, let's go. It's time then to go back for the first time to 1984, the rock and roll years. Will tonight be the night where the subject of tonight's case sheds its troublesome reputation? Sheds, eh? See, like a lizard, eh? Do you see? Yeah. Or will it continue to murk a mockery of classic Doctor Who? Let's find out as we put Warriors of the Deep on trial.
No! Can't risk a shot in here.
When I say run, run.
What you do to me, I haven't been the same since the teenager part of me. Go on, I looked on my phone. The blue skin for and Johnny One.
Warriors of the Deep was written by Johnny Byrne, directed by Pennant Roberts, and produced by John Nathan Turner with music by Jonathan Gibbs. It starred Peter Davison as the Doctor, Janet Fielding as Tegan, and Mark Strickson as Tudlow, with Tom Adams as Vorshak, Ian McCulloch, not that one, as Nilsson, Ingrid Pitt as Solo, Nigel Humphreys as Bullich, Tara Ward as Preston, Martin Neal as Maddox, Nitsa Sol as Karina, James Coombs as Paroli, Norman Comer as Ictar, Stuart Blake as Skibbis, Vincent Bramble as Tarpock, and Christopher Faries as Sovix. It was broadcast between Thursday the 5th of January and Friday the 13th of January 1984, and the viewing figures for the episodes were 7.6 million for Part 1, 7.5 million for Part 2, 7.3 million for Part 3, and 6.6 million for Part 4.
I rest my case.
Hell of a drop-off, hell of a drop-off.
Did you say it was broadcast on Friday the 13th?
Yeah, I know.
Very
I know.
apt.
Those are the facts, numbers and statistics of the broadcast. What do you say we provide a little bit more historical context to this story?
No, I say we
Have
just go
you
straight
prepared
into
a video?
Although, can I say, you know that music you just put over Warriors of the Deep there?
Yes.
Didn't it just change the atmosphere of the whole story?
Absolutely.
I would have that dreadful score for that. Oh, I'm sorry, leave my powder dry. But if
Elevated
you were
it.
editing and scoring Warriors of the Deep, it might actually be TV that could be broadcast.
Yeah.
Bravo, sir.
All you need to do is stick a bit of ash over it and it instantly elevates it. Just to the pinnacle, to the pinnacle. Right then, let's find out what was happening around the world when Warriors of the Deep was originally broadcast, because it's time for... On January 7th, Fraggle Rock makes its British television debut on ITV nearly a year after airing in the US and Canada. The series centred around a collection of lovable Muppet-like creatures causing mischief from their hideout underneath a lighthouse, regularly infuriating lighthouse keeper Fulton Mackay. The final episode, in which Fulton finally cracks under the strain and has the Fraggles wiped out by enabling a routine attack on the lighthouse, to this day remains on broadcast. Also on January 7th, Pages from CFAX makes its television debut, introduced by the BBC to provide content for gaps in transmission, before a full daytime television schedule is introduced the following year. On January 9th, animated series Towser makes its debut on ABC in Australia, several months before debuting in the UK. Television bosses have recently announced plans to revive the series, with minor changes to the title and its lead character. On January 10th, the United States and the Vatican restore full diplomatic relations for the first time in nearly 117 years. There's no joke here, it's just we needed a little bit of news content to balance out all the telly stuff. And finally, on January the 11th, hairy Saturday morning gonk and professional tennis racket shagger Mike Reid announces live on air on his Radio 1 show his refusal to play Frankie Goes to Hollywood's hit Relax, on account of its suggestive lyrics and, as Reid stated, its distasteful content. Let's just take that in for a minute. That's Mike Reid banning a song for being distasteful. Mike Reid.
Our leaders committed a cardinal sin. Open the borders, let them all come in. Illegal immigrants in every town. Stand up and be counted, Blair and Brown. When we take charge and the new Prime Minister is Farage, we can trade with the world again when Nigel is at number 10.
Fuck's sake, Mike. Some hits really do deserve to be banned, don't they?
Just how much time do you have on your hands? How the
Loads,
hell did
Joe.
you make that CFAX page?
I can't reveal my secrets. I'll tell you later.
okay.
I'll tell you later.
I don't think anyone enjoys those videos more than me, you know. I love them. And did you see what was in there? Fraggle Rock. Why the hell are we talking about that instead of this bullshit?
Yeah, we're going to have a spin-off podcast eventually, just all the things that are going on the stage.
Put me down for the first episode, all right?
Excellent. Well, you're always the first. You're always the first guest on.
Lovely.
We call it "Get Your Rocks Off."
Oh, goody.
Nice.
Oh.
There we go. And education as always. Right, that's quite enough of all that nonsense. Let's get down to business. It is time to call this court to session.
This court is now in session.
The trial of Warriors of the Deep is now underway. Who's doing what tonight? Cameron and Joe will be prosecuting Warriors of the Deep. Dave, therefore, will be defending it. Voting is now open on tonight's poll. So, based on the arguments put forward by Cam, Dave and Joe tonight, you get to decide whether Warriors of the Deep is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. You can do so by going to our Twitter page at the Polis Box or by clicking on the link in the description of this very YouTube video you're watching right now. But it's
Can I
not
interject
just...
for a second, please?
Of course you can, yes.
Just a bit of information I need to add to the vote.
Yes.
And that is the fact that I would like to announce that should Cameron and I win today, we will be getting married live here on the Police Box at about 9:30 this evening. So if that in any way... Oh, sorry, Cameron, I didn't let you know that, did I?
No, you didn't know this was not discussed previously, no.
Don't you worry. All the preparations have been made should we win this.
Okay, all right, good. Is the honeymoon anywhere nice?
It'll be with me. Of course it'd be nice.
All right, okay, that's fair, fair enough. Fair
You're
enough.
going to have a good time,
honest,
mate.
Cameron.
That's all I can promise you. You're going to have a great
Okay.
time.
Joe will take you to places you've never been before.
Yeah. Everybody get voting, all right? Guilty.
Sounds like it.
Cam's never wanted to lose more in his life, has he?
So how about that? Not only do you get to decide whether Warriors of the Deep deserves a place in our canon, you also get to decide whether Cam gets a place in Joe's heart.
Not just in my heart.
Lovely.
Remember, vote guilty. Vote guilty.
Guilty, yeah, all the way.
I think we're about to test that theory that the default is always not guilty, aren't we?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Right then, let's get started on the trial itself because it's time for part one of...
This is the law, chapter 1.
So once again, we've thrown open the doors of the courtroom and invited you, the viewers, to take to the witness stand and give us your thoughts on whether this story is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Now, much like last time, the Joe Ford effect has taken hold. We've had 33 contributions of evidence tonight.
What?
Is that why you said part one?
Exactly.
Oh,
Was it not like... Was it not like 20 within the first half hour?
Yeah. We eclipse what we normally get in a week within about 15 minutes of Joe retweeting that.
Have you seen the people I hang out with? This is just all going to be interminable. Go on then, we better get on with it.
Yeah, to avoid this section going on for at least the first hour of the show, we're going to split it into two parts tonight. So with part one right now and part two just after the half-time break tonight. So let's get underway with the first section. First up is a newbie. It's Absent Without Concept, who says, and it gets a kicking right in here, "Oh God, it's awful. Clunky dialogue, ultra-violence from start to finish, heavy emphasis and continuity that it doesn't even get that right. Relentlessly grim without any real purpose. The Doctor ultimately helpless, it's peak Sayward, and that's never a good thing."
Peak Sayward, for sure.
I'd say that's sitting on the fence there, that piece of evidence.
Yeah, it's undecided.
Don't you worry, Dave. There's going to be some outliers here, some weirdos that love this shit.
There's bound to be. Let's see if
Oh,
Charlie
no,
Barrett... Let's see if Charlie Barnes is one of those weirdos. Charlie, first time tweeter, I think. Welcome to the show, Charlie. Charlie says the idea is solid. The return of two classic monsters in a base under siege story with some Cold War commentary. To say the execution let the side down would be an understatement.
Because it isn't one of my points, can I just say that there is zero Cold War commentary in this whatsoever? It's just a base with a nuclear weapon in it. The fact that they don't even name the two power blocks, there's no Sorry to that first-time tweeter, who hopefully is a regular listener now, but that is nonsense.
Okay, oofed. Joe's not hanging about. He's not pulling his punches tonight. Okay, next up is Big French Reviews, who I assume are also a new contributor to Viewer Evidence that we've had them before. They say it's actually one I quite unironically enjoy. It's well paced and the writing is actually somewhat decent.
Wow. But look, he's been watching, listening to a lot of Big Finish though, so his opinion on writing is skewed somewhat.
I get the feeling that Cameron would agree in you that one since he got turned down for one of the writing jobs there.
Yeah, got fucking turned down.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a kind of short trip thing that they were doing, and I wrote a sort of test run of it with the Sixth Doctor. I thought it was all right, and an all right idea, but they were like, nah.
I know quite a few people at Big Finish Towers, you know, so I probably shouldn't have said that comment I just said there. Next time I do the tea run, I'll slip a little bit of arsenic in for you.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
At least that's somewhere in your corner tonight, though, Dave.
Mostly in my corner, yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Did you notice how he said unironically, though? Like, there's always some form of an apology when you like this story, isn't there?
Let's see if Colin Hicks is going to apologise. Colin, another new one. Hello, Colin. Colin says most of the problems with this one can be laid squarely at the truncated production time. Both the script, which really needed at least one more redraft, and the production values. It's doubtful the extra time could have suddenly made Pennant Roberts a better director, though. Colin goes on to say, in its favour, I will say that this is the story where I started watching Doctor Who by choice, asking for the use of the telly in advance, rather than because it happened to be on. And watching our family's tiny black and white portable, it didn't put me off.
Oh, maybe we've got to watch it in black and white. Maybe black and white's the way forward.
On a very small screen that's far
very
away.
Small, very grainy.
Yeah.
This maybe direction is avant-garde now, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it gives it some sort of French art house vibe when it's black and white.
Has he seen it since? Did he mention in colour and Blu-ray, DVD, whatever?
One would assume so if it's his first introduction to Doctor Who. You would think he'd go back to that, but you know, he's still a fan, so obviously done some good.
Maybe.
Next up tonight is Gavin, who says, Kung Fu fighting. I love a bit of mid-80s Doctor Who. Ignore the murka and the eyeshadow, and it's quite enjoyable. And for some reason, he's attached a gif of Robert Kilrow's selling sofas.
40% off, though.
It's a bargain. I mean, look at that decor. Look at that.
That's a saving, not a shafting.
Do you guys know Gavin online? Do you know him?
Not familiar with his work.
Oh my god, he posts the most fabulous pictures in his briefs all the time. He's like a muscle and he's always down the gym. So as well as talking about Doctor Who, he just posts the best sort of, as close to sort of safe for work pictures as you're going to find on Twitter. So if I go back and look at his handle, all right, go and find him.
Wait a minute, we're getting married later on and you're already saying about other muscly men.
What do you mean other muscly men?
Muscly men.
Muscly men. No other.
Coming soon to a cover of Take and Break, Joe and Cam, a relationship in ruins. Is Take a Break still going?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Oh, well.
We'll slip it with a low if that's not the case. A man who we don't know if he's packed with muscles, but we do know he's going to be a future guest on this series of the Polis Box, Dave Rooney, has been in touch to say Warriors is a decent script ruined by the execution. Robot-like Silurians, dull, unpacey directions, too much of a pantomime horse on show, a rubber door that doesn't break Tegan's ankle. The Doc drowning is poorly realised. Good model work and a kung fu kick doesn't save it.
He came on my podcast and defended the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, so we can immediately discount his evidence.
I've never seen Joe this angry.
No. I'm not angry. I'm not.
Oh, not yet, but the rage is beginning to bubble up. I can sense it. I can feel it from here. Next up tonight is Jeff from Who Corner to Corner, who says, Warriors of the Deep, or as I called it, Die Hard with Sea Devils. So yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.
With a budget of 35p, yeah.
It works. I've mentioned Die Hard in my notes, so it definitely is.
Oh, great.
There we go. They're on the same level. Die Hard, but on 2 levels because he couldn't afford the tower block. We're saving that for Paradise Towers.
And just a moment to say that Jeff is one of the most genuinely lovely people on the planet.
I'm sure he is.
I'm not being sarcastic for once. I'm being genuine.
No,
I'm being serious.
I was waiting for it. I was like,
Look at him getting all jealous. Come on, Cam. You're not even married yet.
I know.
Let him play the field while he still can.
Oh, sorry. I've just got a grinder notification, Cam. Hang on. Okay.
oh, wow.
Vote guilty, everyone. Vote guilty.
I'm going to diffuse this liver's tiff. We're going to go to David Gillespie Pratt next, who says, at the heart of this is a good idea and a decent storyline, but the script needed another draft or two and the limitations of the production are abundantly clear, and the ending is signposted halfway through the first part. Lord knows why I actually enjoy it, but I do.
Yeah,
I think you could give that as evidence for almost every episode of Classic Who.
You actually could give that as evidence for Time in the Rani we did last time, couldn't you? I don't know why I enjoy it, but I do.
Yeah.
That's
could have done
great,
more work on the script. Could have been produced better, but it's fun. That's it.
That's
Do you think this is fun? Do you think this is fun?
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna come round your house and show you what fun really is. All right, this is not fun.
Give me a minute. I'm just gonna go lock the door.
You're the other end of the country, right?
And yes, I'm gonna lock the back door as well before you.
I've never walked 500 miles to your house. Don't worry, I'll stay here.
Next up is Hoping 24 is okay. He says the Hangover Series 20 celebrations begin to show here. What could have been a solid cold ball Algerie is buried underneath continuity, cheap looking sets and flashing third eyes. Also, the lighting should have been a Babylon pilot episode lighting.
Oh, the only thing I didn't include in my prosecution was mentioning Babylon 5. The only thing that's worse than this. So thank you for bringing that up. Oh, isn't it interminable? Sorry, I feel as if I've just killed Dave's children. Do you have children?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I've killed Dave's metaphorical children then. Sorry, Dave.
I am currently on
Babylon 5.
I'm on season 2, episode 15 of my watch through again.
Mind you, no wonder you like Warriors of the Deep. There's a load of made-for-TV acting in that as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Ian Banks is next up in the first part of this viewer evidence tonight, who says we excuse the dinosaurs and invasion of the dinosaurs, so why do we rag on the Merca? The story is pretty good, just let down by studio issues. It's not perfect, but it's decent Doctor Who.
That's not the Ian Banks, is it?
In Invasion of the Dinosaurs, because they're in those cute little dioramas and they've made a bit of effort. We don't excuse the dinosaur in Warriors of the Deep because, well, what the fuck is it? Jesus Christ.
Are you suggesting for a moment that the author of The Crow Road is wrong in his opinions?
Yes.
I think it's that Ian Banks. I'm not entirely sure.
The long dead author of The Crow.
Yeah.
And the Wasp Factory.
Yeah.
Sorry to call your critical faculties into repute, Ian, but you're wrong.
Rest in peace. Next up, Joe Llewellyn, who is away over that way, away across the other side of the Atlantic, who says, I love Tegan's totally 80s dress. Turlough has some moments. It's not great, but it's not horrible either.
Have you guys ever had a night where you've drunk too? Oh, you're Scottish, of course you have. Where you've drunk too much and you've vomited all over somebody's shirt. That is what Tegan looks like in this, isn't it? Oh, it's hideous.
Yeah. It's like somebody put a hand grenade inside Timmy Mallet.
Just imagine for that for a moment, it'd be utterly brilliant.
Yeah, let's have a moment to be Mallet. Okay.
Next up, Michael Storm, another newbie. Hello, Michael. Michael says, without wanting to channel Jason from Doctor Who literature, this is a vastly underrated story. It's essentially You Only Live Twice with Sea Devils and Silurians standing in for Spectre. However, the slow performances of both species fail to convey menace.
You know,
Yes.
Jason from Doctor Who Literature came onto my Hamster podcast and did the commentary for Warriors of the Deep. And I was winding him up so much, he was like apoplectic somewhere in the middle of episode 2. It was one of the most glorious recordings I've ever done. And he got so wound up about it.
I've even had a bonus bit of Bond dropped in there as well.
You did.
Next up, Neil Hammond has been in touch. Hello, Neil. Neil says, oh, bless it. 8 on transmission, so as far as I'm concerned, this is a joy. There's no flimsy door. It's huge and hefty. The Murka is an actual dino wrecking murderous mayhem, plus the Doctor drowning. Yikes!
That's just describing events.
It's just a plot synopsis.
Yeah, it's just like
let's
this
be
happened, and this happened.
It'd be like me saying Tywin Arani has a big brain, tastes closed.
Well, you know,
It works. That is what happens.
not guilty.
It is. Although, you know, that something else I didn't mention in the prosecution is that terrible drowning scene. I mean, 5 seconds, he's like, face it, Tegan, he's drowned. You know, what the fuck? I know he wanted to kill him a few episodes earlier, but he's like, come on, let's go, he's dead, let's go.
He's dead time. Let's just go.
Dead, let's just go. Just...
Next up. He's dead.
You do get to see Peter
Next
Davison
up.
wet, though, don't you?
Well,
Whatever hanks your crank.
I'll allow people be the judge of that.
There'll be
Next
people
up.
watching that'll appreciate that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. That's fine. Next up is a Sense Sphere, who I've been in touch to say it was the start of the rot for the Sea Devils.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what
So
could
given
we
that the
be
next
talking about
episode
there,
after
I wonder?
this, given the next episode after this was Legendary Sea Devils, you can kind of see the point.
I think one of them turned up in a BBV production, but that was never going to be sparkling, was it?
Not at all. Penultimate bit of your evidence in this section is from the one and only Rod, who I believe is known to one of us.
Oh, Rod. What nonsense
Co-host.
are you going to come out with now?
Co-host of Strictly Come Hamster. Rod says, imagine you were me and had audio taped this at the time. Then there's stuff to enjoy. Is it divorced from the god of the visuals? There's a decent, fast-paced, fun adventure in there. It just got lost under piles of latex and a director who seems to have been wholly absent.
So is he saying if this was like one of those loose cannon reconstructions, it would be bearable?
That appears to be what he's getting at, yeah.
Wow.
That this would be actually better as a telesnap.
Yeah, imagine such a thing.
He might be right.
No, he audio recorded all of those 80s Doctor Who's, right? And he was telling me on an episode that then he used to play them out loud in his university room. I wondered why he never got invited to any fucking parties.
Yeah.
He had
Wow.
Warriors of the Deep literally screaming out in the corridor. Bless him.
Hey, you can't get invited to the parties when you are the party.
No, that's true.
This is true.
Yeah,
Is that how you
that's,
live
Was he
your
the
life,
strange
mate?
one at the end of the halls?
that's what we tell ourselves every single day.
Me too.
Finally, on the part one of your evidence tonight is another new person. It's the Good Ship's Shugster, who says Warriors of the Deep fails on so many levels that it plummets through terrible, dreadful, amateurish, and comes out the other side to actually entertaining.
Oh,
Shug
no,
goes
I
on
did
to
not-
say
Oh god.
that I keep going back to it often, but like a dog eating its own sick.
Yeah, I know how he feels. What a great name.
Yeah. Enjoyable.
That's the code for the box set, isn't it? It's like a dog eating its own set.
Like a dog eating its own sick.
So that's the first part of viewer evidence for tonight. If you've not contributed to viewer evidence, you can still get in touch with us and give us your thoughts on Warriors of the Deep. All you have to do is send us a comment on the live chat box on this very YouTube video and we'll put them up on screen. We've had 21 comments for all that's been going on, so let's quickly run through those. The Timescales says, greetings from San Francisco, another transatlantic viewer.
Hey. Hello,
Well,
San
well,
Francisco.
Yeah, went on my honeymoon to San Francisco. Lovely place. Loved it.
Yeah, wow. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Timescales also says, Geoford rocks.
Wow.
Can't argue with
My
that.
case.
It's true.
Can't argue with
It's
that.
true.
Sadoko24 has been in touch to say hi all, and also
Hey.
hexachromite is illegal. Just say no, kids.
True. room. Just say no.
Do any of you
Just
know what Sudoku is? I've heard that name a load of times, but I've heard it as a reference, but I don't know what it is. Is it a drug or an illegal sex act or something?
What, Sudoku?
Yeah.
Is it not the
Sudoku?
Is it not the lassie from The Ring? Or am I getting that confused?
Maybe.
Could be.
It is, because it's two different names in the Japanese.
Yeah. Well, the lassie from The Ring goes on to say, season 21 goes all over the place, from brilliant Caves of Androzani to irredeemable
We'll
awful.
see.
Twin Dilemma and Warriors.
Who's prosecuting Caves of Androzani?
Dylan Reese is prosecuting the case of Androzani.
Cam, you are.
And Cam,
oh, bless you. Dave,
All
you got an
series.
easy assignment that week. I'll tell you.
Double it up. One more thing, the timescales. I have to put this up on screen because he's blowing smoke up my ass here. It says, best introduction of Joe I've ever seen.
Oh,
you can stay. You can stay, Sudoku. Who else has been in touch? Joe Llewellyn says not guilty. Forces been under control. Scrolling
not
down.
any of this.
Yeah. Mark Cockram, who's going to be on the Twin Dilemma episode, says Joe married John Arnold the other week.
Oh, I
What?
did. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Sorry.
you
I
know,
got someone
harlots.
downstairs as well. But, you know,
Oh
still
my
go ahead
God.
with it, though, all right? Don't worry.
I'm going to get the decree act to look through for that one.
You can be my Thursday man, all right?
Oh, I'm Thursday. All right, okay. Just before the weekend.
That's
Okay.
right. Just before the party gets started.
Yeah, just before the party gets started. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, okay. I'll take Thursday.
We can confirm that Satoko is indeed the lassie from the Japanese Ring. Yes.
Oh, amazing.
I've got you.
also-
I know the reference.
He knows it.
Something else got that because I was just googling Japanese lassie ring, and you don't want to see what I saw.
I thought I saw your eyes light up, you know?
Yeah, you might want to see what I saw. I'll send you the images later. It's fine.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Not me, please.
I was about to say, let's get ourselves out of this hole, but that's probably the wrong choice of phrase for that.
Yeah,
So let's go.
This gathering it is, yeah.
Daniel Ronsley has also been in touch. Good evening, Daniel, who says, Warriors of the Deep is what you fall back on when your cinema plans go to shit. Like what happened to me tonight.
Oh.
I
What
thought
are you
you
Daniel
gonna
loved
say?
this.
Ronsley, he's just the most wonderful person, Daniel Ronsley. Let's not throw any insults his way. He's glorious.
No. He's a good man.
He seems like a good guy. He seems a good guy.
Okay, so like I say, you can fire a comment to us on YouTube. We'll put it up on screen. Let's get the trial started. So, guests always go first. So then, Joe,
Hello.
do you want to give us your first point of the prosecution of Warriors of the Deep, please?
Yes, my first point is the cancellation of Doctor Who and how Warriors of the Deep is entirely responsible for it. So I can give you a series of events in succession that led to the cancellation of Doctor Who. From a script that is too linear, to moving the sets around, to forcing overhead lighting, to an overexposed and underprepared Mercer, to Michael Grade switching on and saying, let's cancel this shit now. And just to sort of give some brevity to the argument, I've brought along some eyewitness accounts. So first of all, we've got Pennant Roberts chipping in. And this is all from the DVD documentary, by the way, or we may as well just call it the public apology for Warriors of the Deep. Pennant has to say, he goes, I found the script was very linear in construction. We were heavily dependent on changing location to give any definition to the story because there was a persistent threat which the sea base was having to contend with, but not very much counterpoint between the two forces. So he then goes to explain that they were constantly moving the sets around just to give this any sense of, to give the story a direction. As a result, they couldn't light it from the floor. They had to use the overhead lighting, which meant it looks like a kid's TV show, everything's bleached out. So everything is exposed. Peter Davison says in the same documentary, they were very resistant to dimly lit sets. Then you've got Matt Irvin, who appalled, that he's having to come onto this documentary and basically give a case as to why the Mercer was such a spectacular failure. Says, apparently he said at the time, you've got to delay this. We can't physically do this in time. And yet he was forced to do it anyway and bring the bloody thing in. They didn't even have rehearsal time. These two guys these two Rent-A-Coast actors that were going into they literally got into it as the paint was drying, were shoved into the set and said, right, off you go, make it scary. It's crazy. And my final quote comes from the great man himself who finally brought the axe down, Michael Grade. Oh, God. Who looked at what was being produced at the time and bore down this comment. I simply couldn't justify spending license fees money on a show that was so far past its sell-by date. It was embarrassing. And we know he saw that shot of the Merca because that's what he took to Room 101 when he was laying his own evidence to throw Doctor Who in the bin. So from Johnny Byrne's script to Pennant Roberts' weird choice of direction to the overhead lighting to the the no time created Merca. So Michael Grade watching the whole sorry exercise and just going, Doctor Who is dead. And Johnny Byrne is responsible. That is my first quote.
If I could possibly add a slight subnote to my learned colleague's opening point there, I have 1.8. The production of this story is apparently, from what I've read, what made both Peter Davidson and Janet Fielding decide to call it a day. So the story is responsible for pushing 2 actors away from the show. It's that bad.
I mean, it's so indefensible. Nobody on the production team has got a good word to say about it. I can't believe they put that on the DVD, that documentary. Basically, the thing you've just bought is a pile of crap. Enjoy. It's what they're all saying.
You've probably just bought this just to complete that gap in the shelf.
Yeah, and anyone who comes at us saying if they'd have had 2 weeks more, that it's Margaret Thatcher's fault. She's responsible for a lot, but she ain't responsible for Warriors of the Deep being a bit to it. Because he had 2 extra weeks to do Time Lash, and look how well that turned out. You know, he just can't direct. And we'll get into that later, of course. But yeah, just for a series of bad choices, the script of Warriors of the Deep meant the end of Doctor Who for about 16 years.
Okay. Right then, Dave, do you want to defend the indefensible, apparently? On you go.
It's all Margaret Thatcher's fault, isn't it? No, I think the extra 2 weeks could have made a difference. For one thing, the paint would have been dry, and the guys inside the suit wouldn't have been stoned. They would have been off their face on fumes, which might have made the acting just generally in that a bit better. Yeah, the script could have used more work, but they were forced to do it quickly. They probably had planned to do more, planned to do rehearsals, maybe planned to build the sets better so they didn't have to light it from above. But they did get curtailed at short notice when they'd started production. And those 2 weeks of polish really were missing. There's been pieces of listener evidence where they say the story is a good idea. It's just the production wasn't that great, the direction wasn't that great. It was the execution what they failed on. And all of this could have been better if it was better executed. The idea is there. It's a good idea. It's the traditional Doctor Who based Under Siege story. And they just did it badly.
Where's the gold in the story? Can someone please detail where the gold in this story is of just 2 old Doctor Who races stepping onto a base very slowly and wandering around the corridors and then all being murdered? Where's the gold in this?
That's what happens in most Doctor Who stories. Well, look, there's aliens. They've got different points of view.
Excuse me, we did Time in the Rani last time, and it certainly didn't happen in that.
But it's a traditional Doctor Who style story because you've got the 2 sides against each other. That's it. That there's always the conflict there, and the Doctor has to get in the middle and show humans their true humanity, show that the alien invader migrants can be accepted. And then everyone dies at the end, and the Doctor fucks off. That's what happens in all of these.
To show you the depths I'll go to research for the Polis, I'll do anything for you guys. I've read the JNT diaries that have recently come out by Richard Molesworth. Ooh. And in there it details that the Warriors of the Deep scripts were ready way in advance of this 2 week delay. So the scripts cannot be excused in the 2 week delay. And so what's the reason there's no character motivation or background, or why there's no warmth or wit in any of it, or why it's just such a laboured linear plot? Like, he had a lot of time to write these scripts, and they're terrible scripts.
But I'm sure the scripts would have been adapted and changed through rehearsals as the actors learned how they wanted to get those lines across. They didn't have time for it, so they were almost just reading it, go and acting it. They didn't have time to develop it.
So you're
I
saying
worry
that you are conceding that the script is terrible then, and the actors would in fact have had to improvise their way out of it.
No, I'm conceding that the script could have used work, and that work would have come in rehearsals if they had the extra 2 weeks that they didn't because of Margaret bloody Thatcher.
I don't think Thatcher's got a thing to do with this.
We're
And
Scottish,
I hate Margaret Thatcher. No, but this is the one thing she didn't do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling that the defense tonight is doing a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda. We can only really judge on what we have in front of us. So yeah, it might have been absolutely stunningly amazing. And in a parallel universe somewhere, we're talking about Warriors of the Deep being a classic piece of Doctor Who, but it ain't.
In fact, I've got a quote here, Cam, from Peter Davison, very succinctly saying exactly what you're saying there, is that the audience at home don't know what we're going through in the studios. They're just expecting a polished piece of science fiction drama, which they are not getting.
It's the old Eccleston excuse then.
I know, but God, I mean, there's some polish in Series 1 of the new series, isn't there? It's like they polished this with a turd.
They just done the wrong
there's a
way
mental
round.
image.
They just rubbed marker all over it.
Through the comments section, Gabby has been in touch to say Warriors as a story feels a little lumbering, just like the Murka. I'm not going to stand for this anti-Murka sentiment tonight. That's my boy.
Well, you bloody better, because it's coming.
Why do you love the Murka so much?
Because it's just terrible. I get us right as Doctor Who fans, we're supposed to champion the underdog. So why can I not champion the Murka? He's a terrible, terrible monster. He lumbers about, but he's still great.
Wait, hold on. They'd have probably been better with a dog.
I mean, it's just because the Murka is basically like the encapsulation of everything that went wrong with Warriors of the Deep, which is why we're so hard. But we should be thankful because it did, massacre all those terrible fucking actors in this. As he's working his way through them all, and I haven't got to see him act anymore. I was like, oh, thank you.
But critical pick off.
Laser beam nose of death.
It's to quote Peter Davison, I'm going to do this a lot. I'm so sorry. You have to stand so absurdly close to him and be so ridiculously immobile. It's a wonder he managed to get through as many of the crew as he did. Poor Murka.
Well, Mark Cockram doesn't agree with that. Mark Cockram pins it on one person and one person only. And that's because it was all Margaret Thatcher's fault. Yes, Mark. Yep. Yes.
Can we say the same thing about the Stephen Moffat era, Mark? Was that Thatcher's fault as well?
Might as well be.
He'll be back now with some comment about Moffat. Just you wait.
So Mark is clearly the room of Scotsman here tonight, isn't he?
We're making a list. So the poll tax, stealing milk from the kids, the sinking of the Belgrano, this.
Yeah.
Is that the way we're going?
The thing is, though, right, is in all seriousness, you've got a choice. You're the producer of Doctor Who. All right, you're accepting wads of money from America to go over and do conventions. You're a bit distracted by things like that going on at the moment. But you got a choice. You have a piece of television that is clearly unbroadcastable. Yeah, you can either put it on or not because of this snap election. What do? Do you put it out as the opener of your new season, or do you just scrap it and start with something like The Awakening, which is certainly more polished than this? I don't think it's very good, but it's looks better than this. No, you get rid of it. Any sensible producer would get rid of it.
Any sensible producer, but we've got John Nathan Turner.
Yes, who I quote looked at the Murka and went, "It's wonderful." I mean, Jesus Christ. How many underage Doctor Who fans was he chasing around when he said that? He was very distracted when he was looking at the Murka.
Well, maybe in the studio, not on film, it did look great when it wasn't moving, didn't have people in it.
You've seen it, right? You have seen it,
and was in a dark cupboard.
Yeah, but you might have thought that looks great once it's finished and moving and painted. That'll be awesome.
Matt Irving makes a great case for sort of turning the lights down and just seeing it as a silhouette with the glowing eyes. And they sort of do that at one point. They do turn the light, but unfortunately, it's got these like really mincy flapping hands, and you can see the silhouette, but you can see the hands sort of going like this. Oh, it's ghastly.
Sadoko24's been back in touch, and he's just undone all his hard work from earlier on. He says that Margaret Thatcher was completely innocent of having anything to do with the awful script.
Oh, right, okay, we've got an end to that.
Clearly a man-stroke woman of incredible taste.
Mark Cockram has said that the gold in this episode is Ingrid Pitt.
Ah, now I can understand that. Although she was golden, more golden in the Time Monster, surely.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the one positive thing Davison says in the documentary is he's like, Ingrid Pitt was in it. Do you remember her from the Vampire Diaries? And Janet Fielder's next to him giving him daggers. It's great.
Daniel Ronsley has been in touch because he can't go to the cinema tonight, so he's slumming it watching us. He says, didn't Chris Chibnall bring back the Murka in Legend of the Sea Devils? I think it got mentioned, but did we actually see the Murka?
Well, there was a sea monster, wasn't there? And
Yeah.
they didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? Chibnall.
Maybe because it didn't look as good as the original. They just couldn't get up to that standard.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That is a remote possibility, yes.
Yeah. All the CGI in the world just couldn't bring it up to that level.
Yeah. Can't match the majesty. All the computers in the world could not match the majesty.
It's a curious thing, though, don't you think, how we do forgive? Whoever said it earlier, I think it was Cam Lee. I can't remember who said it. Someone said it. That we forgive some Doctor Who monsters and we don't others. And you know, look at the classic series now. One or two aside, they're all pretty shit, aren't they? Like by today's standards, maybe the Zygons, maybe the first Sontaran Lynx in the Time Warrior, but the rest, they're all a bit shoddy. And yet we all go, oh, you know, Kroll rising from the depths is risable, but I can't think of a good one now. Do you know?
The humanoid aliens are usually all right because they're just an actor with a rubber suit on or a rubber mask on. When you go for the proper monsters, they are very much Blue Peter practice models. They're not even the ones that Blue Peter would put on screen.
Did you notice there wasn't an episode of Blue Peter with the Murka in it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Imagine the Murka savaging Janet Ellis on the Blue Peter set. That would be incredible.
Oh, we've all had that dream. We've all had that
That would be more entertaining than watching this bullshit, wouldn't it? Oh, great.
We've all wanted to be the Murka there.
Oh,
right?
no, wait. Do you know, I'll tell you what, if the Murka did kill Janet Ellis live on Blue Peter, her dad was the special effects man, wasn't he? Do you remember when he climbed out of Draffro in and she goes, oh, hello, Pa?
God, we wouldn't even have Sophie Ellis-Bextor if that had happened. Right, it's not worth
Oh,
it's not
my
worth
God,
getting
killer.
No.
Right, before we advocate the destruction of Sophie Ellis-Bextor, let's go to the first point of the defence of Warriors of the Deep. Dave, what you got?
First point, we've been gone for nearly an hour.
I know, I was going to say.
Stop flirting then, David. Get on with it. Come on.
I can't help it. It's had that effect on me. What to start with? All right, I'll start at the start. The opening 5 minutes of this story. You can slag off the script all you want, but in the opening 5 minutes, it sets it all up. We know pretty much everything we need to know within 5 minutes. You've got the Doctor and the companions and their ongoing relationship issues. We know what's going on in the. We know what's going on in Seabase. We know that the ginger lad isn't up to scratch, so we know that's going to happen later on. And we know about the enemy that's coming in of the aliens under the sea. So within 5 minutes, you know exactly what's going on. You could actually, after 5 minutes, probably have guessed at the rest of it quite easily and quite well.
Are you saying there's no surprises after the first 5 minutes?
No, I'm saying that you know the basic building blocks are already there. You can see it and you know what's going to happen. I mean, you could write it. It's Doctor Who. You know that by the end...
There is a lack of suspense then, if we know exactly where we are in 5 minutes.
No, you know at the start what's going to happen. You know there's going to be a conflict between the humans and the aliens, and the Doctor's going to put himself in the middle, and there's going to be shenanigans with the companions. Because all of that's already set up.
Yeah, but I'm kind of suggesting that you shouldn't know all of that. That would make it a more enjoyable and engaging piece of television.
Yeah, but it's not meant to always be... It's sometimes meant to be comfortable. You can sit down, you can watch this, go, it's going to be one of those ones. I like these episodes. And just watch it.
This ends with a massacre. How is this supposed to be comfortable?
Because they all deserve to die. It's fine.
They had it coming.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
So, to analyse what Dave's saying here. So, you're saying the first 5 minutes is good quality world building, scene
I
setting.
didn't use the words good quality. I said it's all there.
It's all there.
Yes, you've got the building
Okay.
blocks in the first 5 minutes. If you look at, say, Waters of Mars, you can see, all right, the Doctor's stuck there. It's a base under siege. The water's the bad thing. Humans
Please don't compare this to Water of please.
But it's a similar setup.
I'd say Waters of Mars had a few surprises up its sleeve, you know?
Yeah.
For the first 5 minutes.
Yes. The first 5 minutes puts the building blocks in, and you know what they are.
Okay.
They're comfortable.
In fact, he's right. He's right, because the Doctor comes out the TARDIS and goes, hexachromite gas, lethal to all marine life, and looks straight in the camera, you know? We know how it's going to
foreshadowing. That's fair. That's fair. You needed that.
We literally know how they're going to be murdered before we even see a fucking Silurian.
Yeah. But you need to kind of, it does kind of break that usual rule of script writing of, show don't tell. It would be probably better to actually have a Sea Devil break one of the canisters of it and then die as a result of touching it, and you're like, this hexachromite stuff might be the thing, but instead you're explicitly told that by the Doctor. After the first 5 minutes, I would put forward that everything goes to shreds. Because I have here, there are seemingly major parts of this story that are skimmed over to begin with and then hastily filled in later. Nilsson and Solo, for example, spend 3 of the 4 episodes concocting their evil plan, and only in the last part does he mention the power block. We also have no idea why they're underwater. Is there any threat of torpedoes being launched from sea? If so, why are they stationary? The plot itself is in absolute tatters. There's just so many questions that you can ask of it. Why? I get the fact that the torpedoes have to be launched by someone who integrates themselves with a computer program as a precautionary measure. There's one line in this at the start in episode 1 where they start talking about how the lieutenant died, and that is never ever revisited. And so you assume that he's the guy that would have launched the torpedo. But then it seems to be that they've given that job to the work experience kid.
Yep.
Who is obviously suffering from some kind of anxiety disorder and is completely ill-advised to go ahead with this. And any medic on any ship would probably go, nah, maybe not, mate. To retain his fucking sanity. But instead it's like kind of going, well, it's him, he defends it.
Do they ever explain what the precautionary measure is, why they can't just push a button?
No, I think it's so that it's harder to do than just pressing a button, because someone could just go, haha.
I'm in a hurry, right? Jesus, we need to launch the bomb. Oh, wait, where's the helmet? Okay, right. Think about it really hard. Jesus Christ.
Clear your mind.
Oh, no, wait. They're so used to moles coming onto the sea base from the unnamed other power block. That's why they make it difficult. Okay.
Right, yeah, probably. But, I don't know if you would get, security. Is it too early for Paul McKenna to pop up as part of this? Just go, we're going to, there's Yuri Geller. Yuri Geller's big torpedoes.
Well, we've heard the rumours.
I'm stepping back. That one.
So,
I'm
just putting forward episode titles.
Find we may have it in the bag.
So there you go.
Sadako 24 has been in touch to say, I presume the guy who died was murdered by Nilsson.
Yeah, so you get
that's
that,
possible.
But then there's no other notion. It's never really revisited. No one else ever says, well, Lieutenant's gone. It's just like everyone else seems to have forgotten about it.
Who the hell is Nilsson? Why is he doing what he's doing? What is his relationship with Dr. Solo? When did they first meet? That entire subplot just feels utterly redundant, and it doesn't even go anywhere. It's not even integrated as part of the story. They're just there being, not so subtly sinister at the side there, sort of giving eyes every time someone's back's turned. It's such a weird subplot. They look like they're being set up as the villains of the piece, and then the Ice Warriors, sorry, the Silurians and the Sea Devils pop on.
That's it.
And that's how memorable this is. And they just get murdered, don't they? So what was the point of that subplot?
Well, you have to have subplots. They can't all just nicely dovetail into the main plot. You have to have subplots anyway.
But that's what a
It's
skillful
helpful if they do, though.
A skillful writer does dovetail those subplots into the main plot, and then they usually impact the ending.
Yeah, usually you can refer back to them and they have some sort of part in the structure. If you're lucky.
I mean, the one thing I won't criticise is Ingrid Pitt. I think she's fabulous in this. I mean, she's phoning it in, but even phoning in, she's wonderful. But the fella from Survivors, what is he doing? What's the actor's name? You said it at the beginning.
Ian McCulloch. Yeah, not the one from Echo and the Bunnyman. Yeah, the one from Survivors.
No.
That'll be a very different show.
Very nuanced performances and other things. And then he's in Doctor Who going, now kill him, Maddox. What are you doing?
He's taking the Paul Darrow tact.
I thought this was supposed to be a gritty drama, but that is one cab line reading.
Mark Cockram said that they wanted to get Edward Brainshaw from Rents to Ghost after the triumph of the War Games, but he was unavailable, so they had to make do with Dobbin instead.
Oh, bless. Bless.
Poor Marka. Poor bloody Marka. Okay then, Cam, do you want to give us your first point of the prosecution of Warriors of the Deep?
Okay, where are we? I'm trying to look at things. I've got a couple of big bombs, big torpedoes. I don't know where they go. Should we go with the smaller torpedoes? I'm going to go with the smaller torpedo.
Yeah,
if you're going to do, if you want to go a small one first, just ease in. If you're going to do combat scenes, then at least make them look half convincing. There are so many parts in here of which Davison is expected to be some kind of kung fu master when he's blatantly not. One can only assume that you can forget Venusian Jaikudo in between regenerations.
So
it's like
they're true to the character of the fight scenes. The Doctor knows how to fight. It's just unfortunate that they didn't have more rehearsal time. Again, Thatcher's fault.
I actually think Davis is one of the more dynamic people in this. He's the one that's dashing about trying to give this a bit of energy, because the director certainly isn't. But he is quoted here as saying, just to go into your point there, Cam, it was almost as if in future times we would all revert to the old way of fighting battles. In other words, standing in a line and wait to be shot, which is exactly what everyone's doing. They're all going along the corridor in a big line, and they're not even being shot down. That's how terrible the Silurians and the... oh, God, who is it? The Sea Warriors?
The Sea Devils.
Yeah.
That's how terrible shots they are. They're all in a bloody line.
It's particularly...
wide corridors.
Make use of the space, you mean?
Yeah.
And they've got nothing to hide behind either.
Yeah.
I'm giving particular reference to the moment before the Doctor drowns, in inverted commas. It's essentially just a Wetherspoons car park brawl. And it's just flailing around.
Did you notice wobbles as well? The flat really wobbles when he throws them out. Right.
But it's like, it's like you've had John Pertwee, and it's when you're hide, when all this kind of stuff, so the Doctor can do it. But even Tom Baker had a couple of moments of getting handy with his fists.
Oh,
but
yeah,
this just
he punches that guy in the face, doesn't he?
Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, this was just like, what has happened? And I know it's not like Davison's not quite being made out to be the James Bond style character that Pertwee was.
Yeah.
But even so, my word, it's the most unconvincing sort of flailing around. It's just, don't do it. If it's going to look that awful, just don't do it. Just have the guy push him off the balcony into the water, fine, rather than just this, like, awful, drunken shenanigans going on.
Yeah. It's not
One
really
of them just
keeping with
sneaks over and
Davison's...
gets all fours behind him and somebody pushes him, like used in the playground.
Yeah, he said, whatever.
That could be the line of the story, couldn't it, Cam? If it's going to look that bad, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But he does that very quick reaction of, face it, Tegan, he's drowned, dragging her off. And he's been in the water 2 seconds. He must really hate so.
There's not even an attempt to swim. He's just there, just kind of going.
Yeah,
But that is just like
It's so shocking, right? Because the lighting is so bland. I've forgotten they were in a sea base. I just thought it was some base in space. So when he's under the water, I went, "Oh yeah, we're under the sea, aren't we?"
I love Turlo's medical professional attitude to that situation after 2 seconds. Yeah, his lungs are full. Let's just go.
This is
He
fucking.
can't have survived that.
Go.
He's just grateful for a line because he don't get many in this. Do you remember that
Oh.
bit? The top bit where he runs into the room and goes, "The switch to the door. Where is it?" Like that, and I'm like, "Why have you walked in with a gun screaming? Oh, you are going to be killed." Very odd.
On the fight scene, Sadoko says, problem is the first fight scene just begs the question why the Doctor decided to needlessly antagonise the situation by sabotaging the reactor in the first place.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Got a point.
And then
Yeah.
Cornell in the discontinuity guide, you read that. He's like, "Oh, the Doctor's such a pacifist going in with the gun and handing it over." And then 10 minutes earlier, he's literally beating the shit out of this guy in the reactor. A pacifist. A couple of stories later, he's got a gun to Davros's head. A pacifist. Cornell, you need to pay attention more. All right?
Is it ever explained why he does sabotage the reactor in the first place? Is it purely just to draw the attention to people that are on the base, rather than just wander around and find somebody?
He's annoyed that the TARDIS got shot down by Sentinel 7, whatever it was. Oh, and the voice they used for that public school. "Hello, this is Sentinel 7. It's like,
What hell? You appear to be trespassing. What lots?
What lot? We will obliterate you in forthwith.
I mean, if the base commander had talked like that, it would have been joyful, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah, it would have been great.
But instead, we got, what's the fella's name who plays the commander? You'll get no help from me, Silurian. That fella.
Let's go back to the cast list.
I'd love to say the fella with the eyebrows. That doesn't really narrow it down in this one.
Doesn't really, no. Oh, I
There's
can
some
picture
stylish
it. I can't remember
eyebrows
his
going
character's
on.
name. Somebody in the comments will let us know, I'm sure. I can't recall who he is off the top of my head.
That
Even
fella.
with the cast list in front of me. That fella. We'll go with him.
He sounds as bored as I am watching it throughout the whole thing. He just doesn't raise it. Just not once.
Maybe he thought I was still in rehearsals. He was just reading the line out, not putting the inflection yet. He needed more time.
And then it goes, "What? Oh God, this is the actual thing. Are you kidding?"
What do you mean cut? What? We're filming that.
Did he just say action?
We're live, boy.
Ian McCulloch tells me on the whole documentary where he goes, "Yeah, we were doing it." He goes, "And we were aware that it was a bit shoddy while we were making it, but we were talking and we were like, well, it'll be worked out in the edit." So I brought all my friends and family around to watch it. He said he was just sunk in the chair like, "Oh God." Literally, no one has a good word to say about this except probably Fraser Gregg, Contrary Mary.
Okay, on that, we have reached the hour mark. So, how about we have a quick break before we carry on with the rest of the trial?
Sure.
Yep.
Sound good? Okay, before we do that, just time to remind you that the poll is still open on Twitter. So if you go there, as it stands, it looks like Warriors of the Deep is going to be found guilty. But more importantly, there's going to be a wedding.
Oh, I'll go get the dress now. All right.
52 to 48% guilty at the moment. So it's close. But
That is close.
We've got some
close.
Come on.
We've got to work for it now.
Oh, but this, not that. You go.
Oh, right. Okay. This. Sorry.
Well, we'll let Cam and Joe sort out the arrangements while we go for a break. We'll be back in a few minutes' time. And we're back for the second half of the Trial of Warriors of the Deep. Never mind the trial. Hey, wedding fever. Because while we were away during that break, I had a little check on the votes. It was 52-48 guilty when we left it. I've just checked it is now 60-40 guilty.
Yep.
Oh, just to prove.
They're all a bunch of romantics, aren't they?
Exactly.
Well.
Just to prove how excited people are getting. Sadoko 24 says, "Go into the chapel and we're gonna get married." I do apologise for the singing. Also says that bit of the score is quite good, I think.
Obviously.
Mark Cockram has bought a new hat.
Oh, well.
They're ready.
You don't need it, Mark. You're handsome enough. True. Did you hear that incidental music that was playing on that little break we had there?
Yeah.
Didn't it sound like a ghastly Zelda game? Oh, the incidental music during this time. No wonder those sequences plod so much.
One of the ghastly Zelda games. Be careful which one you pick here.
Are you having a pop at Zelda's soundtrack?
Yes, I am. Yes, or you know, it's similarities to Doctor Who incidental music post 1980. Yes,
The wedding's off.
Yeah, the seeds of discontent have been sown already. It's just-
we had a Warhammer themed honeymoon as well, Cam.
I know, but did we?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was going to dress up as one of the characters for you.
All right. Okay.
Ganon.
I can see you
I'll
as
do
a
a slow undress to Zelda music.
I can just see
Well,
you
now
as Reboot
you've got his
Gulliman.
interest.
I can't help but notice he's just crossed his legs as well. Cam, behave yourself.
Before Joe spoils any more surprises for the wedding night prematurely, shall we go to part 2 of...
This is the law. Chapter 1.
Part 2 of Your Evidence Tonight is another big chunk that we've received from you all on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Teletext, whatever the hell you people get in contact with us from. First up, another new person, AGG, who says that the lumbering Murka can be rationally explained. It's a creature used to living deep in the sea, and with all that pressure on it and the buoyancy of the water. Without it in the air, it'll likely find it difficult to move around.
Yes, we can rationally explain why it is a turgid piece of television, for sure. But it's still a turgid piece of television.
Next week on Winter Watch. Next up, Cy Hearts has been in touch to say the music.
Oh, look at this. The music is superb. Honestly, God.
Next up to touch a nerve is Cy Hart, who says the music is superb. The story is decent, as you can see in the book. Never quite got the lighting criticism, as it's a place where people work. Health and safety, we don't let you have the lights turned down.
Can these people hear themselves? Yes, it would make sense if it's a well-lit thing, because it's a place of work. It's a piece of fucking television. It should be atmospheric. That's why we don't just film in some bloody office. Oh, actually, they did do that, didn't they?
Yeah. More or less, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The one office that Thatcher didn't shut down.
Mm.
It's all sort of apologies again as well. Have you noticed all these tweets? It's all we're explaining the deficiencies rather than just celebrating the strengths.
So far, it is.
Middle-aged Doctor Who fans were always apologising for that. Doesn't matter which episode it is.
That's true. Did I apologise for Time and the Rani? I don't think I did. Did I?
No,
No, you
not
did.
for a second.
It needs no apology.
Next up, Dan Joseph has been in touch to say episode 1 is really solid and a great season opener with a terrific, well executed cliffhanger. It's almost a shame they stopped junking episodes by that point, as 2 to 4 read much better in a Target novel, free of overlit sets, bad accents, and a poorly realised monster. Damning with faint praise there, I think, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. That was a bit backhanded.
I would talk about the content of that tweet, but he just looked the epitome of cool in those shades. Did you see the picture?
Oh, well, I didn't
He
look
looks so cool.
let's
Yeah, there he
look
is.
at
Look.
him.
Dan
That's the
Joseph,
man.
you're the man.
Look at him there. And his shades and his...
I'm coming for
Do you
you
not
for
think, Ben?
Fridays, Dan. All right.
Saturday and Sundays are still available. Next
Sundays
up
will be a
is-
day of rest, surely.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Nope, you're
You'll
going to
need
be the
it.
man that puts the phrase weekend into the weekend.
Next up, Lucy McCall has been in touch to say it's not guilty as far as I'm concerned.
That's
I
just
refuse to.
the thoughts.
I-
That's not...
Cam, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do not contradict Lucy McCall. She will come for you. All right. She's a
Will she?
librarian. She tells me off all the
Oh.
time. She's terrifying.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
She... All right.
She'll come at you. She'll come
okay.
for you.
Oh. Right, okay. Does she know where I live?
Just know your place with Lucy McCall, all right? Behave
Oh,
yourself.
okay.
We can let her know. We can sell on that information for cold hard cash.
Right.
Next up is Grumpy Git. That's his actual name. I'm not casting aspersions on his character here. Grumpy Git says, I don't know why I have a soft spot for this. It's mostly a poor, time-hampered mess of a production with a solid cast and decent enough script badly let down. I'll probably cut it some slack because the Silurians and Sea Devils were childhood favourites in John Pertwee's era. And he's got a few pictures there, one of which is the Murka before it made its way on
That's
set.
exactly how John Nathan Turner saw it, where he said it looks wonderful. Look at it.
Oh, it looks amazing. Look at it.
What's going on in Tegan's mind in that first picture there? Look, that's a very strange face.
That's it. Shouldn't my ankle be broken?
Oh no, didn't one of you say she was quitting at the end of that day's?
Yep.
Someone get me the
This
producer.
is the one. This is the one.
Can I get myself a part in Bergerac?
No, I think
Yes.
do you think this looks infected?
I don't think she ever acted again, did she? After Doctor Who, that was her last.
One or two bit parts and things, but yeah, never another kind of continuing
Show me
role.
what a
Yeah.
bit part in Doctor Who as well. Jesus.
So not only did this push her away from the show, this pushed her away from acting as a whole.
Acting.
Wow.
Do you remember how she comes into the show? Do you remember Legopolis? All of that. You disgusting man! Oh, Jesus, they should have known then and just axed her then. Terrible.
Did we say 3 years? We meant half an hour. Yeah. Sorry. So if you can leave your costume at the door, and just we'll be in touch.
No, take the costume with you. It's terrible.
Next
Do
up-
you want the rundown of Janet Fielding's post Doctor Who career, by the way?
Go on then.
Oh, please. Is it a long list?
Okay. No. It's obviously Doctor Who leaving in 1984, and then she's in such things as Minder in 1984, in the episode Windows. Murphy's Mob as Caroline in 1985, season 4. And then it just jumps all the way from 1985 to 2013, the Five-ish Doctors reboot, as Janet Fielding.
And
So
then
there you
Carol
go.
Doctor, yeah?
And then, wait a minute. Well, it actually just goes 2016 Prisoner Zero as Dr. Mendez, which is a voice part. And then 2023 Tales of the TARDIS as Tegan Javanka in episode Earthshock.
I mean, did you see her in Power of the Doctor looking at her phone like an old woman like this?
That's because
She is an old woman now.
Yeah, but in all that time, you'd think
know.
she would have got some acting lessons. But no, she was as ghastly as she ever was.
She's too busy being an agent now, is she not?
That bit where she walked in the room and she had to deliver all that exposition, you know, I've been married to da-da-da-da, and I was also an air stewardess in the 1980s. I was like, oh, please make this stop. Yeah, sorry.
I think I've worked out one of Joe's points for the prosecution that he hasn't used yet. I'm just getting a hint of it.
Nah,
Yeah, I
too
think
easy. Too easy.
Too easy. Like kicking away a blind man's stick, isn't it? Next up, Matthew, who says it's not as bad as everyone says it is, in my opinion. I like the Silurian redesign, and I think it manages to balance Sabred Edge TM and be an interesting story, better than Resurrection for what that's worth. Just needed more production time. Thanks, Thatcher.
Didn't
And
bloody get
everybody-
it then, did it?
Everybody needs to check out his Marco Polo animation.
Yes. Go and have
I
a
was
look.
reading that at the top, yeah.
Okay, next up, James H has been in touch to say it's a
Oh,
pretty
this will be good. This will be good.
It's a pretty standard 80s US versus the USSR story, with the Doctor and co sledgehammered into the plot with some terrible choices made by pretty much every department. One good stunt, but everything else is so very wide of the mark.
How brave of him to call Ingrid Pitt karate kicking the Merker a good stunt. Very brave. Old argument.
It doesn't
James,
confirm
don't
what one
think
he's talking about.
No, that's true. I think he's probably talking about him going into the water. Do you think?
Yeah, mind you, the karate kick is
Memorable.
it's something. Yeah.
Eminently cancelable, yes.
Next up is a fantastically named Ripper Metal God Rich. It says,
Wow.
what?
Nice
Yeah,
beard.
exactly.
What
Nice
a
beard.
beard.
That man is a metal man through and through. You can tell by the beard.
God.
What a shame that this story wasn't written with today's technology in place. One of those stories that must have looked great on the page, but a visual effects creator's nightmare.
Looked great on the page. Is he mad?
He's read the Target novel. Like one of our previous comments.
Yeah, I don't know what Si's talking about there because that's hideous as well. Honestly, it's sort of mostly description, but it's really appalling prose. Yeah. No.
Okay, next is Muddy Funster, who's another new person. Welcome, Muddy. It says, if nothing else, it gave me, my buddy, the line, there should have been another way. That's a great shorthand impression for Davison. Another good one was, we're caught on a space-time trap. Scream!
Muddy Funster, what a great name.
Next up is Michael, who is another new person. Hello, Michael. Michael says, listen to the Target audiobook last year. Had this not been overlit, it might be better regarded. The threat of two sides ready to go to war and the Silurians ready to tip that balance is intriguing. The execution of it is what takes it down. He goes on to say, I'm not saying it's a classic or would have been, but I feel like it had two strikes against it from the get-go.
I realise they've only got a certain amount of characters that they can use to build these defences of Warriors of the Deep. But they all sort of saying the execution's terrible, but the story's great. But then going into no detail about how the story is great. Someone give us some detail, please. Send us a message in the next hour.
Get in touch. Progslog is next. Progslog says, I fucking love Warriors of the Deep.
I think, as Cameron's about to point out, that's not evidence. That's a statement.
I love some shady porn sites, but I'm not proud of it, you know. Jesus Christ.
I'm on some shady porn sites. I'm not proud of that.
Are you?
No, I'm not. No.
It was a time in your career, wasn't it, Dave? It was just a time.
I had a choice between watching Fraggle Rock, reading the novelisation of this, or looking for you on porn sites after this, and I think we know which one I'm going to be doing.
Fraggle Rock, every
20
time.
quid a month for Dave's OnlyFans.
If it's him and Fraggle Rock in a porn movie, that would be amazing.
He'll show you his sprocket. Next up, Sea of Tranquility. Whoever goes against his username of this tweet, it just simply says, I loved the bit in part 1 where the Doctor kicks a guy in the face.
Oh, that's
Well,
Ian
yeah.
Martin from oh Christ, what's this podcast called? I've forgotten. He does Doctor Who books, New Adventures and EDAs. It's very smart.
Okay. Right. We can stick him on a list for coming on here if he's bad enough. if
He's even
silly
more
enough.
sarky than me. He is, in fact, he's not quite as sarky as you guys, but he may admit.
Next bit of your evidence is WWDWRPG podcast. It says it's a great final line, one of the best in Doctor Who history.
Yep.
Bold claim.
It's a good
bold
closing
claim.
line.
One of the most apt in Doctor Who history.
It's memorable.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Oh, right. Oh, we've tickled a bit of evidence there. Let's see if Jason Thompson will tickle anything for you guys. He says, execution lets it down, but the story is solid.
Finally, look, some detail.
An alien effectively invasion, but the threat is not just from the invaders themselves, but the effect their actions are having on the wider global tensions. Just the disruption of normal operations causes tensions to rise. Goes on to say, this story is a weird example of how the first time you see something stays with you. First time I saw this, I was homesick, feeling rather nauseous, and its total lack of cheer didn't leave me feeling any better. I still feel slightly unwell watching it now, remembering. The grinning Silurian masks could have done with an alteration or two, and reducing the third eye to a light that flashes when they talk was unfortunate.
I don't think it was the fact that he was ill that makes him feel sick every time he watches this. Jason, I love you, man, but it's a production that's going to make you feel ill. And those points he made about the story there, nice try, but what impact does it show on the conflict between the two power blocks? He says it's just the fact that, you know, an interruption of the base can cause one of the missiles to go off. There's no context to it at all. We don't know what the war is, what they're fighting, what it means. Nothing.
True.
Sorry.
Would you rather we knew it was set in the Cold War and it was maybe on a submarine with a really good 80s soundtrack?
Oh, yes. That is automatically better. I just think it's a bit rich to sort of suggest you're being ballsy by telling this sort of story and then just giving you no context and no allegory. You know, we don't know who these two sides are, so none of it means anything. Oh, sketch it in
You know-
yourself, fine, but you shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah. And finally, this last bit of mammoth viewer evidence that we've had tonight is from our pal Mark Harrison, who says there are BAFTA-worthy acting moments in even the worst Doctor Who stories. And here it's Davison and Fielding literally lending heft to a polystyrene door. Otherwise, it's textbook early 80s ramble, and I get why the Murka put the show on Michael Grade's shit list. He also goes on to say, how many weeks have I got to figure out what the BAFTA-worthy acting moment is in the Twin Dilemma?
Ooh, a couple of months, I think.
Yeah, you've got about
episodes.
3 months to get that all together there, Mark. So
Yeah.
you've got
Did
plenty
you
of
see
time to do
Davison's
it.
face in that picture? No wonder he had a career. I mean, he's actually selling that. Isn't he?
He's
It does
properly.
look like he's got his hand up a cow as well.
You can even see at the side of that is a fucking mattress. Can't you? Oh, there's lack of polish, and then there's this.
But they've lent it heft. They lent it heft. Okay then, right, let's carry on with the trial itself. I'll go back again around the points. So Joe, you're going to be next. Let's have another point for the prosecution of Warriors of the Deep, please.
I would like to bring Ian Levine to the stand, please.
Oh, please don't.
No, I would. And I've got a quote from him here. I don't know, sure we've got a stand big enough, if I'm honest. Being able to make John listen to me, I'd always wanted to make a fan's dream come true, says Ian on the documentary. What, cancelling the bloody show? Is that what the fans wanted? Because, and he goes on to detail, the Cybermen, the Master, the Silurians. I brought it all back. And it's that whole point. It's that point in Doctor Who where we are utterly trading creativity for continuity. Who gives a shit about the Silurians and the Sea Devils? Only Ian Levine. That's why. What did you say? We started with 7 million and ended with 6.5. That's why they're all ditching this story. They just don't care. It's terrible. And it details in that documentary a conversation that was continually happening. So the scripts would go to Ian Levine. JNT brought in a fan to go through the scripts and detail all the continuity. And he goes, I found 30 references on the first go and threw it back to Eric. And then Eric literally has Johnny Byrne rewrite the scripts from top to bottom to change the continuity references. And then the second time I had it back, I found 50 more. And at a point where Eric will finally turn around to him, literally picked up the phone and said, are we making this? I'm going to say fucking, but he didn't say fucking. Are we making this for the fucking fans? Or are we making this for the fucking general public? Because I ain't doing this anymore. No wonder the script's as bad as it is. Because they weren't actually looking at, plot logic or characterization or, setting detail or anything that would have made this bloody thing bearable. Or they're literally just looking at the continuity references as if that is the important thing. So Ian Levine is another reason why this is a dog. And why 21 and 22 are just full of dogs. Because he's just so obsessed with the past instead of sort of allowing the show to forge its own unique identity and power on into the future. A future it no longer had because he was involved. He may have saved the Daleks once, and doesn't he all remind us of that on every occasion? He behaves like an absolute idiot. But I'm perfectly convinced he is instrumental to the show being cancelled. And it starts here.
So what I'm hearing you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is a really good continuation of everything that's gone beforehand. And it's really focused on being true to Doctor Who.
Well, no, because the continuity references still aren't right, are they? He goes, what was it? Twice before we offered the hand of friendship. And I think it was just once, because they certainly didn't do that in the Sea Devils. And there's another thing as well. They talk about the Doctor and the Silurian leader meeting in the past. No, they didn't. So, even when it's had all these revisions, they're still not getting it right.
They were already planning novelizations and spin-offs. That's why they had that in there. They thought, well, say it's happened twice, then we can write the book about the second time.
Where were those spin-offs? Oh, you mean the one that's just coming now? They were planning that far ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big picture. That's what it was.
Forward thinking.
He was a visionary. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save the show. Plan for the future where you need to save the show again. Genius.
I think
No, I
at the
get
moment we're suffering the same thing at the moment with a lot of things. I think Big Finish is particularly guilty of this right now, is this obsession with nostalgia instead of telling creative original stories, looking back to a time when, let's use Big Finish as an example, we're making better stuff. So you can bring in, what did they release this week? the latest Kariz adventure, Kariz the Lizard from the 8th Doctor adventures. No fucker likes him at all back in the past. No one could stand him. And they're all hailing this story as the second renaissance of Big Finish just because someone who was in it 20 years ago has popped up. It's baffling. Marvel do it. All of these franchises are so obsessed with the past instead of just doing something original. And it's got to stop. Sorry.
On that note, if I could add in here, I might as well put this one in here. I have got a second point with Warriors of the Deep trades on nostalgia but can't hit the heights of the stories it's riffing off. We did the Sea Devils on the Polis Box fairly recently, and the end result was it being upheld as a classic piece of Doctor Who. Here we are, though, about 10 years later, with a story that's a shadow of that. If you're going to go for the nostalgia pop, then at least make it as good, if not better. There's no point in referring back to stuff that's happened in the past if you're just going to make something that is objectively worse.
But even if they could have shot this single camera and turned the lights down, and they had a director that can point a fucking camera instead of literally going for lunch and leaving it standing, even if they'd done all of those things, this would just be two elements of the past turning up and being massacred at the end. It's just a dull story beyond the production problems.
But you've also got aspects of the story like the people getting their brains controlled by the mad, crazy doctors. Like, that's a really weird side story, as you mentioned, and it has no effect largely on the story. But it's interesting.
It adds such context to the overall narrative, doesn't it?
It shows that the people who are with the Eastern Bloc, I believe it is, are evil and willing to torture people.
The Eastern Bloc, yeah.
Yeah. The East, the Red, the whatever they call themselves.
They have a little disc which has all the information on it, which they pump into Maddox's brain.
Yep.
But that infers that everyone's got a disc with stuff they could just learn on the off chance.
No, I think you need to be a certain kind of person to get the disc in your brain.
Like Ginger.
I was going to say it earlier, but I didn't want to. I think the guy that died was Ginger, and they have to replace them with Gingers, because it's only Gingers that can push the button that'll kill loads of people, because their soul isn't in danger, because Ginger people don't have souls.
Excuse me, why I've asked Ginger, how dare you?
Cameron's not Ginger.
Oh, did you say don't have souls?
I'm not.
Fair point.
Hold on. Can we just establish which one is it? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday that's Ginger?
Oh,
I'm Thursday.
He don't count in the week. He just pays rent. I do think, Dave, you are actually giving this more consideration than Johnny Byrne ever did writing the script.
Possibly.
I think you should have been there. How old was you in 1985?
5 or 6.
I think you could have written a better script, if I'm honest.
Me writing the script, Lee doing the sound design.
I'll do the acting. That'd be great.
Cameron can be the murker.
Ah, yeah.
Let's go make a show.
We've got to do this now. You know that, right?
Yeah. This is a fan film that has to be made.
I'll be the weedy ginger at the start, you know. I can't do it, Karina. I can't do it. Oh, no, I'll be Karina. Don't throw your career away, man. Oh, their accent. What is the acting in that
accent? It's awesome. What is her accent?
I have no idea.
I think the accent actually depends on which scene it's in.
She's Asian, but it's not an Asian accent. I don't know what she's doing. And what's so sweet is that's supposed to be like a really touching character scene. The acting is so terrible. You just can't buy into it at all.
Yeah,
it's the build of the characters where you can see they've got a really close relationship. And then you understand more when 2 scenes later he chokes her to death and doesn't show any emotion.
The trouble is, Joe, you guys did Canine and Company last time, didn't you?
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
That utterly naturalistic compared to this acting, isn't it? Brendan the honker and all of that. Yeah.
There is a guy who should have had the BAFTA. Tell you who else deserves the BAFTA. According to Mark Cockram, it's Dave. He says, hats off to Dave for attempting to defend this one.
These guys get
how the draw went.
Mark also goes on to say that Ian Levine has the reverse Midas touch. # Doctor in distress.
I was just singing that one when we came on the call.
Yeah. Joe was having a great time with Doctor in Distress before we started this episode tonight.
Do you know what's the best line in Doctor in Distress? You know the bit where the woman goes, "Who's that doctor over there?" What does that? What does that even mean? Oh no, the woman who goes, "No, no, 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 no." Oh, I love it so. That is the best thing Ian Levine ever did.
I quite like Anthony Ainley in a bit of the Brigadier of Nicholas Courtney's emotive reading of the K9 line.
The Brigadier and the Master and a K9 computer. Yeah, terrible.
Ivor Novello must be spinning in his grave. Okay, Dave, do you want to give us another point? Oh, sorry, Dave, when you go.
No, just like Margaret Thatcher spinning in her grave. Ruining Doctor Who.
Political.
A little bit of politics. Right, Dave, do you want to give us another point for the defence of Warriors of the Deep, please?
This has already been touched on several times. And it's the cliffhanger at the end of part 1. Doctor is dead. Are there any other cliffhangers where we've seen that the Doctor is dead?
Avengers on Varos episode 1.
Yes.
You see, and that's why I asked in this forum, because I knew somebody would fucking point it out.
Oh, sorry. You knew it was going to be me as well, didn't you?
Yeah. But that's the thing, it's such a strong cliffhanger. Because we've seen what's happened. We've seen the Doctor. The companions have said he's dead. And we've seen him floating face down in the water. It's a really strong cliffhanger. And to be honest, I can't remember any of the other cliffhangers in the middle of this off the top of my head, but that one cliffhanger is pretty much the epitome of what cliffhangers should be, because it really teases you to tune into the next episode and go, what happened? Because you know, obviously, it's Doctor Who, it's the start of the series. You know he's going to be fine, but you tune in and go, how the fuck are they getting out of this one? Because there's no way you can get out of being dead. So it's a really strong cliffhanger. Admittedly, not in the strongest of episodes, not the strongest of stories, but it's a really strong cliffhanger.
I was more concerned as to whether the wobbly set was going to survive, if I'm honest, given that.
It was getting soggy because of the water.
It's always dead.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it is.
I think it would have been
sort of. Sorry, Cam, there you go. No.
I think I was going to say it would have been if it had looked anywhere sort of half convincing rather than just flopping a mannequin into a puddle of water.
That wasn't a mannequin. That was the stunt director. That was an actual person doing that. And the water was meant to be warm. Yeah, and the water was meant to be warm, but they never warmed it up. It was actually fucking cold.
Although Davison says that he's been peddling off for conventions for ages, that it was him that he did that stunt.
Yeah. Was it, Pete? Was it?
I think it would work if the editing was better and we had a little bit of him flailing around and that. But the fact that it is like 2 seconds is we were all laughing about it earlier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not really well done in places. The timing spread of it is really bad. But if we'd seen the Doctor go down, see him struggle a bit deeper in the water, and then cut him floating up face down, and they'd gone, he's dead, that would have given a bit more depth and a bit more time.
Yeah.
The fact that he was underwater for 3 seconds didn't really help.
Yeah, and then Turlough, seemingly still on a mission to kill him, goes, nah, that's it, Tegan, we gotta go now, because he's dead. He's all proper dead. Bye.
Yeah.
How could you possibly forget the cliffhanger to episode 3, where the Merker's dead on the floor, Tegan gets thrown against it and covered in green paint. This is what Janet Fielder says anyway. So she's shuffling to the side so no one can see the paint. And then the Sea Devil turns around and goes, "You're next." How could you forget that cliffhanger?
High point. It's a high point.
Yeah, that's...
On the cliffhanger in episode 1 with the Doctor drowning, I think we've just received the most sinister comment we've ever had in a Polis Box Live.
Right, bring it on.
Sirako24 says, "I didn't buy it. People don't tend to drown that fast."
How do you know?
Nobody knows where the bodies are buried.
Well, I think she does come from a well somewhere in a forest in Japan.
Oh. Don't do it, Cam. If she crawls out on my screen now, I'm blaming you.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. That's what I'm in for tonight when we get married. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that looming over you.
I've got to cross my legs now, excuse me. Oh.
Well,
I love, honestly, talking with you guys is the best. That's right.
That's because we have no standards.
Very low. Well done. Low enough to have me on, anyway.
Okay, anything else you want to add to that point about the cliffhanger?
Oh, was that your whole point?
It was a big point, yes. The cliffhanger was good. I liked it.
I mean, your point did end with it wasn't done particularly well, if you recall.
It could have been done better, but it's a really good idea for a cliffhanger because the Doctor actually being dead at the end of a cliffhanger isn't seen that often. The Doctor being under threat, yes, but the Doctor being dead is a big, solid, heavy cliffhanger line, which you don't often see.
I think we have to concede this one, Cam. It's a dramatic idea. It does have some worth.
Yeah.
it does have some
It isn't
worth.
done
But it
at all
looks
well, but as an
absolutely
idea.
awful. And it's any kind of dramatic tension is quickly drained out of it by the crap editing and the fact that obviously there's just like obviously there's no flailing at all. He just kind of lands and goes up dead, and that's it. You know, it might as well have been a little vat full of acid, like in Varos. So, you know, but it's not. No, it's just. I get it. Yeah, Doctor's going to be dead. But yeah, it's the height of tension, but it's just devoid of any of that as a result of crap.
So it would be
editing,
extremely
crap direction.
odd to murder the Doctor at the end of episode 1 in the first season, in the beginning of the season as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know he's coming back. But you
Oh
always...
no, they have announced this is last year though, so it could be at any point. To be
Yeah.
fair,
I nobody knew when there was the replacement was going to come in. So
that would be bold, wouldn't it? Peter Davison's back for a brand new season. End of episode 1, dead.
here's Colin.
Yeah, he's back for the new season, or at least the first 22 minutes of it.
Actually, suddenly makes a lot of sense because you can see Colin there with that gun in Davros's face, can't you? In Resurrection and Alex.
Yeah.
Imagine the image of Colin Baker just emerging from the water, like Poseidon.
I was going to say like Ursula Andress there, but you know.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not an image we need.
Baker wet. Stop it. Oh well, no, actually, it doesn't work at all. Imagine Colin in Caves of Andress. He'd be beating everyone up, wouldn't he? The whole story.
Oh, yeah.
No one would have a hope. Those gun runners wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah, Sharaz Jacobi in a headlock. The Magma Beast would not stand a chance.
No, not at all.
There we go. Okay, we are coming up to the last sort of 7-8 minutes on the poll. So I think we'll probably go to summings up just now, unless you've got any barnstormers, bits of evidence you want to bring to us.
I'm just looking down my list and I'm trying to think of stuff we haven't really mentioned, and there's not really a lot. We've talked about the Merca, I had a whole point about that, and it's basically the absolute example of hiding your monsters that might look a bit dodgy away in some sort of low-level lighting to hide that fact, but it gets none of that luxury here. We're in the awkward time when when time travel seems like a complete bind to this TARDIS crew. Tegan spends most of the time complaining. Turlough wants to spend as little time as possible outside the TARDIS, and the Doctor just kind of rolls his eyes at them both. Any wonder of Doctor Who is quickly evaporating. And finally, the ending. The ending to all of this, humans all dead, including a commander who seems to just have some kind of heart attack purely for the hell of it. Sea devils all dead as a result of toxic gas. Silurians dead even after receiving expert medical care from Tegan and Turlough, and the TARDIS crew standing on a pile of corpses. It's bleak, needlessly so, and the Doctor's "there must have been another way" line is perhaps aimed more at the script editors than any other character.
I mean, that sounds like a summing up to me.
That's sort of.
It's not the summing up, but
okay.
I've got a summing up.
Okay, that's good.
That gratuitous violence that you're talking about there, I mean, that was the death knell of all of this as well, wasn't it? And Gray says it in his interview with Matthew Sweet. He goes, they didn't have the money, so they were trying to make an impact by being gratuitously violent. And he goes, and it was just cheap and nasty and horrible. And it kind of was.
Yeah.
There was no joy in
Grim
Doctor Who
watching.
anymore. Why do these people hang out in the TARDIS, Dr. Tegan and Turner?
Yeah,
There's
it just
no
seems like they don't
warmth,
want to be there.
There's no camaraderie. They're all trying
Yeah.
to kill each other. I mean, it's just very odd.
I get they kind of do this thing of like kind of going, oh, they're a family, and they would have a little argument, but it just seems to be this constant kind of. They don't seem to want to be there.
It is
And this
literally Eric
Turlough's
Saward.
like,
With these scripts, Eric
Kind of-
Saward is literally telling the story of what's going on in the Doctor Who production office. A bloody massacre. And it's all just on the screen.
yep,
There should have been another way, guys.
there should have been another way.
Been another way.
There should have been another way.
Although I do have an extremely long wrap up, if you want to hear it. If you're
All
bold
right,
enough.
well, you can have that for your summing up. Dave, you got anything else you want to bring to the table for the defensive Warriors of the Deep before we start doing the summings up?
No, I think I've said enough. We'll go with the summings up next.
All right then. Okay, before we go to summings up then, just time to say there's 5 minutes left on the poll for Warriors of the Deep. You can go and cast your vote on Twitter at the Polis Box. There's a link in the episode description of this video you're watching. Voting closes in 5 minutes. So let's do the summings up then. Dave, do you want to give us your summing up of why Warriors of the Deep is not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who?
So this is a classic story of Doctor Who. It just is. It's a base under siege. It's a classic trope, not just in Doctor Who. It's got all the same components as War of Mars. It's got all that same thing in there. You can compare it to that. You can compare it to, being stuck on a submarine in the Cold War. They never truly define that this is the same as the Cold War that's going on. But I think that's the BBC trying to avoid getting involved in politics, especially with the election coming up. They cannot take sides in that. So they'll just make up mystical East and West. That'll do it. This is a great setup. The first 5 minutes give you all the components of what's going to happen. And yeah, you can predict it, but that's nice and comfortable. They even literally say, that's the obvious gas, we're going to use that later. The interpersonal relationships between the Doctor and the companions are really well fleshed out. Yes, they're dysfunctional, bad relationships, and in many ways abusive relationships, but they're believable, understandable relationships. As the prosecution said, nobody wants to be on the TARDIS anymore. Off screen, the Doctor's leaving. This is his last season. He's like, fuck it, I'm out of here. Tegan, as a character, wants to go home. The Doctor goes, I'll take her to the future first. Why? Just take her home. Just let her fucking go and be free. So all of this means these relationships are believable. Turlough, again, looks like the geekiest member of AC/DC because his school uniform doesn't fit. And he starts this story being the usual dickish, I don't care if the Doctor dies self, as is shown in that fantastic cliffhanger at the end of part 1. But by the end of it, his character's actually changed a bit, and he comes back and helps. He doesn't want to, but he kind of does it because he feels like he should. He's actually grown as a character. It's a very small growth, and he's a very shit character, but he has grown a little bit. Most of this looks bad. Yes, it's overlit. Yes, it's flat. Yes, it's got wobbly walls. But if you look at the 80s makeup and clothes and hair, that is immense. It does look like a Duran Duran video. It's awesome. And I love it for that.
Nostalgia again.
Yeah. But hey, I was 5 or 6. This is the stuff that I grew up watching. This is what I grew up watching on TV and MTV when it started. All those music videos on Top of the Pops. It was the multicolored nonsense and the big eyeshadow, and it looks great. Does it look like you'd maybe want a Doctor Who based Under Siege story to look? No, not necessarily, but it looks really good. It's bright and colourful and it moves. So that was great. As I said, the cliffhanger at the end of part 1, it's a really great dramatic idea. And I think that sums this story up. There were some really good ideas in there, but they were ruined by not having enough time. There was the production time crunch, not having enough budget because the BBC wouldn't give them any money. Yes, maybe slightly being trapped in the past, but it's a story about time travel. It's always either stuck in the past or stuck in the future. So yeah, this is all a great idea. Needed more production time, but the characterization's great for the Doctor and the companions. The setting, it's a great idea. Bringing back classic Who monsters, it's always a good idea. The Merca maybe lets it down, but I think, Lee, you'll agree, the Merca's great. So it's not guilty of crimes. It had crimes committed against it by Margaret Thatcher, but I don't think that this is guilty of crimes against Doctor Who.
Okay then, getting a kick in it, Thatcher. That's the best way to do it. Okay then, that's the summing up for the defence of Warriors of the Deep. Let's go to the summing up for the prosecution. Joe, do you want to go first? Do you want to tell us why Warriors of the Deep is ultimately guilty of crimes against Doctor Who?
I've never ever written anything this long for a podcast ever, so prepare yourself, okay?
Okay, we're braced.
Part Bond movie, secret bases, Cold War politics. Part disaster movie, The Body Count. Part horror movie, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And part morality play. It would take a script editor far more dynamic than Johnny Byrne, a director far more accomplished than Pennant Roberts, a special effects team far more technically capable than a hybrid of Rent-A-Ghost and Blue Peter, a script editor with the ability to recognise that less is more and more is less, and to somehow find the subtleties in between than Eric Saywood, and a producer that understands you cannot undertake a production of this scale with 14 days less than you do with productions with 2/3 less this ambition. If we replace the entire production team and write a script that is logically sound, chips off continuity, plays to the series' strengths, and bothers to characterize individuals, and then pull in a director that understands mood, pace, and dynamism, and editing's terrible, and hire a cast that can I'm laughing at my own stuff. Terrible. And hire a cast that look less like they are pulling off an Amdram production of the Poseidon Adventure and more like they're trapped in a chilling underwater Cold War nightmare, well, we wouldn't be watching Warriors of the Deep, would we? And to summarize all of that, let's go over to Johnny Byrne himself, the last person on the list, who says, and this is him giving it a positive appraisal. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
If it was remade and it had everything it needed to make it work, and with judicious rewriting, it would make a very powerful story all over again. So if you replace everyone on the production team and rewrite the script, I mean, it wouldn't be fucking Warriors of the Deep, would it? It's crime against Doctor Who is bringing down the axe. It started here with the violence, with the continuity, with the dreadful special effects that were way beyond their means. The sixth floor, somewhere above, and the BBC were watching, and they just weren't impressed. They'd seen Star Wars, they looked at what Doctor Who was delivering, they said, what a old tat, how embarrassing. They're not spending our money well, it's going. That's why it's guilty, because Warriors of the Deep destroyed Doctor Who. I'm done.
Yeah, you can't get much more damning than that. Cam's going to try, though. Cam, do you want to tell us why Warriors of the Deep is guilty of crimes against Doctor Who?
I'm going to have problems competing with that and the level of it, but I'm glad I'm on the same side. So all I've got here, Warriors of the Deep should be good. It should be a Fifth Doctor story that delves into the actions and histories of the Third. It should give fans something to remember from seeing Silurians and Sea Devils join forces for the first time on screen. Everything about Warriors of the Deep seems set up to be great, but every decision made after that lets it down. The Merca is put across as this awesome monster, when in reality, the brightly lit corridors of the sea base show it for the lumbering pony that it is. The story has more holes than a sea sponge, and it's difficult to care about the characters and what's actually happening when information is brushed to one side or forgotten about entirely. Guilty of crimes against Who. Send it down.
Oh, will you listen to his beautiful voice? I could be hearing that for the rest of my life, you know.
He's so powerful as well when he delivers it, isn't he?
He is. And he looms well, as we've already discovered.
Yes.
Okay, with that powerful summing up, the trial of Warriors of the Deep is now closed, and the vote is now closed. So, we are going to take another few minutes break. When we come back, we will reveal the results of whether Warriors of the Deep is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. We'll be back in just a few minutes' time. And we're back. The poll is closed, the votes have been counted, and according to Daniel Ronsley, who needs a trip to the cinema when you've got the trial of the century to watch?
Exactly. I hope he's got popcorn.
Let's find out what the result of the trial of the century was. Let's find out whether Warriors of the Deep is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Here's how the people have voted.
It's closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I was just saying the same thing. That's closer than I thought it was going to be.
But in the words of Papa Lazarou, you're Joe's wife now.
Well, yeah, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for the
Warriors of the Deep has been found guilty by 58% to 42%, which means it goes into our... Sorry, it doesn't go into our...
Doesn't? No, get the fuck...
It doesn't.
Get it done.
Sorry, it's just like the closeness of the vote has blown my mind.
How many guilties have you had now?
Oh, quite a few. Over the podcast and over the live shows. Yeah, we've had a few. More than you'd think, so...
Not Time and the Rani, though, eh?
No,
I got away with it.
So that means it is cast into the wilderness. It shall not become part of our canon of Doctor Who. But the most important thing is it means that you, the viewers, can now take your seats for the ceremony.
Oh, I do, Cam, I do.
Well, I just want to say, I look oddly sedated in that last photo.
It's the only way this is going to happen, let's be honest.
This is true. So then, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the joining in holy matrimony of these two men. Sadly, Reverend Mr. Wainwright has mysteriously disappeared, so I have, at the last minute, completed my vicar training course, fashioned a dog collar from an old cereal box, and have been ordained, giving me the great honour to preside over this joyous ceremony. Our witness today, Mr. David Cummings, is in place, so shall we proceed to the vows?
He's not the only one who's going to be coming tonight, I'll tell you.
On that note, do you, Cameron Aloysius St. John Miyamoto Phillips,
Aloysius?
take this man as your somewhat possibly unlegally wedded podcast husband to have and to virtually hold, to maybe see once a week at most on the rare occasion where he's not guesting in a Doctor Who podcast, in sickness and in health, for as long as you both shall broadcast.
I do. I'll be his Mr. Thursday.
Magic. So in that case then, do you, Joseph Adric Dodo Chaplet Ford, take this to be your somewhat possibly unlegally wedded podcast husband, to have and to virtually hold, to turn a blind eye to his predilection for sweaty men in spandex, to lightly reprimands Every time he insists that Mario Kart Double Dash was not the best game in the series,
Not the best game.
to regularly say those three little words that mean so much to him. Penalty to Rangers. In sickness and in health, for as long as you both shall broadcast.
We've been living in sin for months. I do.
In which case, by the power invested in me by the hand of Omega, it gives me great pleasure to pronounce you podcast husband and podcast husband. Joe, you may do whatever you wish with the groom.
I will, don't you worry. Oh, I can't believe you said that about Matthew Burgess. That was hilarious.
He had it coming.
Have you seen him taking requests this week?
No.
Any of your Blu-ray queries? I'm the expert. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
go share, mate.
Get a job.
Well, do you know what? The surprises don't end there, you two. Because we have raided the Patreon funds and taken them out under false pretenses to send you both on honeymoon.
Oh, amazing. Where are we going?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Joe. It's not a sea base. You'll be getting whisked off on an all expenses paid trip across the pond to see the ponds. That's right. You'll be getting to walk in the footsteps of the 10th Doctor and Martha Jones as we take you to the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps, New York City.
Gorgeous. Oh, thank you.
Hey,
Can I ask how many times the vicar has walked after Martha Jones?
Oh, I can't possibly comment.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
The only thing I can say is your Patreon fund's a lot fucking bigger than mine, I'll tell you.
Oh, actually, hold on. Wait a minute. Sorry, there's been a misprint in that document. We're actually sending you to New York Stadium in Rotherham. You'll get to walk in the footsteps of the Chuckle Brothers as you sample the delights of the jewel of the crown of South Yorkshire, with a stay at a one-star B&B just off the A630 next to the Lidl, with sweeping views of the River Don and the big patch of empty concrete where Tinsley Cooling Towers once stood.
Oh,
Hey, that looks like the grimmest place on earth. Where's that?
Hey, that's Rotherham, so you're not far off, mate. You're not far off. But you know, it's a weekend away, and what better place than Rotherham to celebrate?
Let's get married. I love you, and I wanna stay with you. Let's get married. Have kids, grow old and free with you. Let's get married. Hold hands, walk in the park. Let's get married. Let's get married.
All I can say is thank you to the listeners of the Polis Box for making this glorious thing happen.
yes.
After all that, Daniel Ronsley's been in touch to say there should have been another way.
Well,
It can be Friday, don't worry.
Sadako 24 also said Reverend Midnight had no faith in this wedding.
Oh, I love that person. Can't you have them on?
Yeah, well, we're open to be
Whoever you are, Sadako, this is an open invitation to the Polis Box.
well, you say that, but from personal experience, you contribute enough, you end up on the show.
Yeah.
I'm the living embodiment of that statement.
I've been looking forward to marrying you for about 3 days. We've been planning this.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, well,
Oh, yeah, that's been in the
I'm
works
glad someone
already.
is.
Oh, okay then. Well, after that emotional, romantic reunion, it's.
Oh, yes.
How can we possibly top that? We can't. So all that remains to say is thank you, Joe, for being our guest tonight.
Thank
As
you,
ever,
Joe.
it's been an absolute joy to have you on. The new Mr. Phillips, or are you Mr. Ford? I don't know. You can sort
We'll
of
double battle it. We'll just Ford Phillips.
Can we be honest for a second? This is like the funnest place in podcast land, isn't it? Don't you think? So it's all my pleasure to be here.
We're far too humble to say. That's for you to say, and you alone.
Except
We'll take
Mr. Day, you know, and his 1-star review.
Yeah,
you know,
fuck yeah.
But apart
He
from
couldn't
him,
understand the accents.
Mr. Day ever married anybody live on the internet? Has he? Fuck. No, he hasn't.
whoever you are, Mr. Day, and your 1-star reviews. We're
See this,
coming
Mr.
for you,
Day?
all right.
See this? Proper dog collar. Priest. It's not. It's a bit of paper.
Dickhead.
Don't tell him that. Joe, as ever, it's been an absolute joy to have you on. Do you want to give anything you're involved in a little plug for people who might not already be familiar with your work?
Podcast, Handsome with a Blunt Pen Knife, the Nine One Be Praised, Untitled Star Trek Project. Oh, what's the Buffy one called? I've forgotten. There's so many, I've forgotten what they're called. Strictly Come Hamster. There's a lot of it. Just put my name in. Something will come up.
Yeah, we'll retweet it all. We'll put you in the right place.
Thank you.
So there we go. Ultimately, Warriors of the Deep was found guilty of crimes against Doctor Who, 58% to 42, that resulted in going into the wilderness and a marriage. There's not many Doctor Who stories that can say that. Next up, it's going to be The Awakening, with no special guest this time, because it's just going to be me, Cam and Dave. On the basis that it's a 2-episode thing.
Who's prosecuting? Who's defending?
It's remaining the same. So Cam's prosecuting the entire series. Dave's defending.
I think Dave's got more of a shot this time. You know, The Awakening's got some good things going for it.
It's got things going for it. Yep. Yeah. So that'll be Thursday, the 1st of February. So a fortnight tonight. Join the three of us for that. This has been the Polis Box Live / blind date / don't tell the bride, whatever the hell this has been for the last 2 hours. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you on the 1st of February for The Awakening. Until then, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Don't forget to hook me up with that Dishy Andy from your Christmas episode, all right?
Oh, plans are in place. Plans are in place. Keep your diary free. We'll see you in a fortnight's time. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, people.